The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Thursday, the 17th of October. I'm CJ Baumgartner. Zeke filling in for Corey today on the Morning Sports Desk. Zeke, I know we're going to get to this in a second, but you went to the Lynx game last night. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I got home at 1 o'clock in the morning for that. No, it was a great time. Corey and Jared and I went down to the Lynx game after work last night. Incredible atmosphere. Like, my goodness, I haven't been to a Lynx playoff game since kind of that first group of championships where it was Maya Moore and Simone Augustus and Rebecca Brunson and Lindsay Whalen, Taj McWilliams Franklin was there for the first one. Syl Fowles came in, Candace Wiggins, just huge Lynx fan in those championship runs. And this team, brought the same energy. These fans, I think, were crazier last night than I remember in any of those WNBA finals against Indiana or against Atlanta. I mean, it was crazy at the Target Center last night.
Yeah, really cool. We'll talk about the bad part later, but we'll stay on the good. We're going to recap last night. There were some football games, pretty much all of the football games going on across central Minnesota. We had a couple games on our Hubbard Radio-Wadena stations. On the Superstation, it was Pillager hosting New York Mills, and the Huskies they took care of business. They got a big win, setting up now a rematch with Osakis in the playoffs. And we're going to get to those playoff matchups in just 1 second. But I do want to talk about a game last night that had some playoff implications in 9-man in Section 5. Nevis hosting Verndale. Nevis undefeated this season. They were undefeated a season ago, going 13-0, defending 9-man state champions, and hadn't lost since the playoffs of 22. But Verndale coming in at 4-3. They had a few losses in the middle of their season. Felt like they've kind of steered that ship, gotten to where they wanted to go. Verndale hung tough. They gave up a touchdown on the opening drive. Then they fumbled the ensuing kickoff, but then they got a 3-and-out. And then they had to punt the ball, but a roughing the punter got them a first down. Then they had to punt again, but then on the punt, Nevis muffs it. Verndale able to recover, and then Verndale gets to the 3-yard line and turns the ball over on downs. But then Nevis turns the ball over on downs, and the Pirates do get in on a 15-yard rushing touchdown by quarterback Sean Schmitz. They just have this capability, as we all know from Verndale football teams, to win. There's not a lot of times where a team on paper is better than them, but when they have a good game plan to hang around long enough to make things get interesting, and they did. It looked like we were going into a 6-6 game at halftime. Verndale punted it away with less than a minute to go. Nevis still had all of their timeouts, but they run, no gain, pass, incomplete, 3rd and long, deep on your own territory. Nevis was on, I believe, their 17 or 18-yard line, way on the other side of the field. They hand it off to Eo Ogundiji, and he rips off an 83-yard touchdown run like it's nothing. He finished with over 336 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, all over the field. That guy's insane. If you remember watching highlights of big runs from him from the state tournament run they had a year ago, he's good. He's able to. A lot of running backs are good around here, I think. But what makes him good is he just has the patience to let a play develop, and then once he plants his foot and goes, he goes. And he was able to run a lot. Both teams, it was weird. In 9-man, typically, the gist of it, Zeke, is always, the field's shorter. Typically, it's more in between the tackles, up and down. There's not a lot of running sideline to sideline. There's just not a ton of room compared to an 11-man field. Both teams really made their money going sideline to sideline and just doing it that way. It was fascinating to watch last night. But Verndale hung tough. Nevis eventually took them, but Verndale went into the halftime down 12-6. They got the ball back to start the half, couldn't do anything with it, and Nevis ends up scoring a few more times. It's 32-6, the final score. It looks a lot more lopsided than what it ended up being, but Verndale did hang tough with them. Fun little game. Sean Schmitz, I thought, had a good game at quarterback, throwing it around the field. They're potentially going to play Nevis again next Saturday if they can win their first-round playoff game, which will be fun to see. But Zeke, it's playoff time. Here we go, right?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm looking through the matchups last night, and there were some good ones. Alexandria, they were number 1 in the state 2 weeks ago. They lost to Moorhead last week, lost again to Elk River. yesterday, the
Brutal
number
schedule for them.
six ranked team in Section 5A. So there's going to be a lot of fun playoff matchups here as we gear up. Detroit Lakes, they blocked a field goal last night, late to beat East Grand Forks 14-13. Lakers of a 5-3 campaign, and they're going to likely be playing in that 4-5 play-in matchup in section in section 8, or their
I believe
class 4 section 8 or something like that. Yeah, so it's crazy, and brackets are slowly being released. I've seen a lot of the smaller class brackets, 9-man A, 2A, some 3As are out. I haven't seen a whole lot of 4A, 5A, 6A yet, so they're slowly tricking out there after the games last night. Coaches sitting down, putting the QRF together, and finding out who plays on Tuesday and who plays on Saturday, and making sense of everything that's happened over the last 8 weeks.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on with that. And as the football escapes me here as I try and pull it up on the bracket for your Lakers here, Zeke. Let's see if we go to the Minnesota State High School League website. They will play Little Falls in DL in a 4-5 matchup, 7 o'clock kickoff
on Tuesday. Yeah,
on Tuesday. That's confirmed. Playoff brackets confirmed across central Minnesota for all of our teams. We have a web post up at WadenaRadio.com, and that talks about all the different matchups for Tuesday. Now, obviously, Staples Motley, Pillager, Osakis, Monaga, they're all going to play on Saturday. We're just talking about first round playoff matchups here in this one. So if you go to WadenaRadio.com or the Superstation, K106 mobile app, you can see all of the matchups that we have going on. In 9-man section 4, Rothsay is the 6th seed. They are going to it says 1, but it's 3 seed Ottertail Central Bulldogs. The Underwood Rockets are the 5 seed. They're going to the 4-seeded Hillcrest Lutheran Academy Comets. So a long drive for Underwood. I'm going to go all the way to Fergus, just a tough one for them.
Yep.
Tough drive for Bertha Hewitt. They have to go to Ogilvie. They're the 6th seed. They're going to go to the 3-seeded Ogilvie in section 5 for 9-man. Nevis, the 1 seed, they're going to host Carlton Renshaw, the 8. Verndale hangs on for that 4 seed, and they get the home playoff game. They're going to host the 5-seeded Sabika. What was interesting, Zeke, Bertha Hewitt, Sabika, and Verndale all finished at 4-4. They all were separated by a QRF of less than 2 within each other, and Bertha Hewitt beat Verndale, but Verndale beat Sabika, but Sabika beat Bertha Hewitt. So there was this big cycle.
Just pure chaos. That's what we need, chaos at this time. Yeah, love it.
You got to love it. And I think basically it probably just goes down to like points scored, I'm guessing, or points allowed. There's probably like your point differential probably helps in the tie-breaking scenarios, but Verndale does get a home game at Malin Field on Tuesday. All the kickoffs, by the way, are at 6 o'clock, unless noted otherwise. In 11-man, section 6A, the 7-seeded Ashby Brandon Evansville, Abe, as you could call him, is going to Parker's Prairie. They're the 2-seed. Walker Hackensack Akeley is a 5-seed. The Wolves are going to the 4-seeded New York Mills. In section 8AA, the 5th-seeded Frazee Hornets are going to the 4-seeded Park Rapids Area Panthers. And in 8 AAA, the 6-seeded Perham, they're going to the 3-seeded Dilworth Glendon Felton. As always, check out the broadcast schedule. We will have updates for you there coming officially on what games we'll have on our broadcast schedule next week. But Zeke, here we go. It's the playoff time. It's the busiest time of year for Corey and I, and I know you're getting thrown into some play-by-play here. It's busy, but also like these are the best games of the year most of the time.
Absolutely. The last 8 weeks have been leading up to all this. And looking at the schedule here, a couple I've got circled on my list. I think the Frazee and Park Rapids game wasn't very good 2 weeks ago. I think Park Rapids won that one 57-24. I think Frazee's going to come out harder in this one. I think this will be a much closer game in that 4-5 matchup in A2A. Then, of course, that game I have circled for Saturday that we can maybe talk about a little bit is in section 6-2A, that rematch from week 1, Osakis versus Pillager, where Osakis misses the field goal late and Pillager escapes with a win in that one. Pillager finishes 7-1. They're the 2 seed in section 6-2A. Staples Motley 8-0 after the Wadena forfeit yesterday. So I think that Pillager Osakis game, talking to some Staples people in the middle of the season, they said nobody wants to face Osakis in the playoffs. They got to a rough start, some big injuries on the offensive line. I think 2 maybe even three significant knee injuries.
They had 3 injuries all at the same time, all right before the season. So it took them a while to get going. Osakas played I think every single game was against the 2A opponent. They were playing teams like Eden Valley Watkins. They were playing teams like St. Cloud Cathedral. They were playing some teams where, and nothing against Staples, Motley, and Pillager. They just went down south. They played a little bit bigger schools, and they're a little more battle tested, even though their win-loss record might not say so. That's going to be a good game between those two teams. I thought, Zeke, you were going to go homer for your alum Staples Motley Cardinals, but that'll come for later, right?
Yeah, I was at that Osakas Eden Valley Watkins game, and it was competitive. It was more competitive than the final score indicates. Osakas just couldn't get anything offensively going. It was week 2, maybe I think it was week 3 where they're still kind of figuring things out. And Osakas 3-5, but a very dangerous 3-5. I wouldn't be surprised if 3-win Osakas represents section 6-2A in the tournament. But also wouldn't be surprised if Pillager is there or if Staples is there, because those are some 3 good football teams vying for that one spot.
Right. It's going to be a lot of fun to put those teams in the grinder and let them go. Staples Motley, Drummanaga, they're going to play them on Saturday in Staples. And like you talked about, Zeke, Pillager hosting Osakas in that Saturday game. Wadena Deer Creek forfeiting their season. So Monaga will forego the Tuesday night game and just go right to playing Staples in that 5-team, now 4-team section for section 6AA. Again, go to WadenaRadio.com and stay up to date on the broadcast schedule for all the things that are going on with that. All right, Zeke. Playoffs, football. What more do you need? It's gonna be fun. Playoff volleyball. They're playing tournaments today and tomorrow. So then the QRF will get seeded on Saturday, Sunday, something along those lines over the weekend. And we'll know Monday where everybody's going and what everybody's doing. Pigtail games are on Monday. Playoff football on Tuesday. Playoff volleyball Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. More playoff football on Saturday.
Love it.
It's the best week of the season in terms of the amount of games I get to go to. In terms of my free time, it's like the absolute worst week of the season. My wife is barely going to know what I look like when I get home.
Right. You want to golf on Wednesday? You free? Wednesday, Thursday, any of those days? Yeah.
I can shoot a couple. Yeah, we could do a little bit. We can get 18 on one and then maybe get a little lunch and try
There you go. And go back out. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if we're up for it, I think we can squeeze it in. All right. We've been putting it off long enough. We got to talk about the Lynx, Zeke. You talked about the good. You talked about the good. Now we got to get to the bad. What the heck happened? I was calling a game last night, but the last thing I heard is that the Lynx were up 15 points, and all of a sudden I'm getting notifications that the Liberty sunk in a big shot to put them over the top, and they got a win. I guess you didn't wave the towel hard enough, Zeke. I don't know.
I will 100% take the blame for what happened to the Lynx last night. So we are sitting behind one of the baskets. It's me and Corey and Jared. Second half, New York is coming towards our basket, and the staffers and ushers are handing out thunder sticks, right? So they can hit the thunder sticks during free throws, and everyone's opening theirs up and blowing them up, and I dropped mine under the seat in front of me. And so I did not get my thunder sticks out, where I think if it would have been like half a decibel louder when Sabrina Ionescu put up that game-winning 3 with 1 second left on the clock. If I would have been hitting my thunder sticks, she would have missed it. And so I'm fully prepared to take full responsibility for the loss in game 3 last night. No, it was frustrating. I mean, Lynx couldn't buy a bucket in the second half. They jumped out to a huge lead, like 12-4. They're getting steals, they're getting blocks. The whole place is going crazy, and the lead just slowly evaporates in the second half. They had a lead with 2 minutes left, couldn't hold on. New York took the lead with maybe 90 seconds left. I mean, just unstoppable last night. Brianna Stewart, 30 points. I think she couldn't miss in the second half. She hit a big bucket to take the lead. Nafisa Collier hit 2 free throws to tie it, 77. With 19 seconds left, Sabrina Ionescu comes down, hits the game-winning 3, top of the key. I thought she airballed it, but because it didn't hit the rim, she's just swished it, and the vantage point was just off. I'm like, oh, she airballed to get the rebound, but yeah, and then timeout and up by 3, and Lynx couldn't get a good look with 1 second left on the clock back on their end, and just a stunned target setter, just based on how well things were going. Nafisa Collier had a huge game. I think she set the WNBA playoff scoring record last night. And hopefully with 2 more games to go, if the Lynx get this championship. So there's a lot to be excited about until that fourth quarter. Turning point for me, I think it was in the third quarter. Courtney Williams had a wide open rebound, and she went up for the rebound, and I think there must have been some moisture on the floor, because she went up, she got one hand on the ball, and she fell, and it fell out of bounds. New York basketball, and that was the big turning point, the momentum shift, where she gets that rebound. Lynx have the basketball. I think New York hit a 3 on the next possession, and just things didn't bounce the Lynx's way after that.
Yeah, I mean, just brutal. And look, New York did what they needed to do to come back. They did whatever. But also, I think there's just some spots where it felt like the Lynx opened themselves up to get, to have that deficit shrink on them, to have the Liberty pull out the comeback on them. And part of it was points in the paint. The Lynx were brutal when it came to points down low. I'm trying to find the official stat, but Jace Frederick, who covers the Lynx and the Timberwolves for the St. Paul Pioneer Press, he had a tweet talking about about that late game stat. They were 14 for 40 in the paint tonight.
They missed
14 for 40.
They missed so many layups.
Finals.
So many layups missed last night, and it just it got amusing at one point. I think Courtney Williams, I looked at the board last night. She was 3 of 13 shooting. She had a couple big buckets down the stretch, but nothing like she was like in game one. And it was just, like I said, Lynx could not find a bucket in that fourth quarter. Liberty didn't miss a free throw, I don't think. I mean, you were waiting for Brianna Stewart to kind of to show what she had at the end of game one, where she missed the free throw to win it late. And I don't think she's missed a free throw since. And that's what the great ones do, is they buckle down. She put up 30. Sabrina Ionescu was garbage the first 3 quarters. I mean, she couldn't hit a bucket. And then I think she scored the last 5 points, including the game winner for the Liberty last night. And now we reset and get ready for elimination game in game 4. Not the first time the Lynx have seen an elimination game this year. They battled the 5 games against the Connecticut Sun in the previous series, but the stage is going to be huge. And I think for as loud and raucous as Target Center was last night, I think game 4 on Friday night going to be even crazier than last night was.
Gonna be a raucous Target Center. It's gonna have to be all hands on deck. Were both bowls open, or was it just the lower bowl yesterday at the Target Center?
Everything was open. It was probably 4/5 full. It was hard to tell because it was whiteout night last night. So they had t-shirts on every seat, and so it was hard to tell, especially in the upper level where people were or where t-shirts were. But it was I think they released upper bowl seats on Tuesday, because they sold out the lower bowl. They opened it up. I think Corey said it was the first time they've had the upper deck open all season long, and they filled that spot, and it was a high energy place last night. And until with 1 second left in the fourth quarter, then that kind of killed things. But
I know you're a hockey guy, Zeke, but state of basketball, basketball.
The state of basketball designation was missing from Minnesota for a long time, especially with the struggles of the Gophers and the Timberwolves, but we've shown for a long time, especially state basketball tournaments with the Minnesota Lynx. I mean, this team, this state loves basketball. All we need is some commitment to show that we want to put a winner on the court. And you saw how fast things turned around with the Wolves in the last 3 seasons in the Chris Finch era. And when there's a good product out there, fans will show up. But if you're going to get blown out by 50 points because you're running the Kurt Rambis triangle offense with Karl Anthony Towns and what was even it was Kevin Love and Al Jefferson and somebody else, we're not going to show up for that. We're not going to waste our time. But you make big moves, you bring in some good talent, and you give us something to actually pay attention to. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota basketball at an all-time high right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Back in the day, you used to get free Timberwolves tickets if you just bought like butter kernel cans of corn.
Yeah.
Like, You bought 2 cans of corn? Congratulations. You get a lower bowl ticket to the Timberwolves
You
game.
have to go to the Wolves now. Oh, okay, fine.
I'm just going to buy the name brand.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy the other brand.
I'm going to grow the corn myself.
That's a lot.
That would be a lot easier than have to sit through a Timberwolves game with Alexi Shved out there.
I'm going to toil in the soil for months on end to, and, produce my own corn, freeze it, do whatever I need to do. Also, I don't have to watch Johnny Flynn.
Yeah.
Please save me from this. And now it's like if you get Timberwolves emails, they're like, best deal of a lifetime, $100 per game to sit in the, like $100 to sit on the concourse and watch the game on a TV in the stadium. Whoa.
Yeah. It's a place to be. Justin Jefferson was there last night. Lindsay Whalen was there last night. She was on the Jumbotron and kind of played it cool. And she reaches in her pocket and she pulls out one of her rings and just shows the ring to the camera and then casually puts it away. Just boss move. It was so cool.
It's a good move if you can pull it off.
Yeah. She's got 4 of them. She could have got 4 out there, but she just had the one.
She just pulled out her hand and just.
Yep.
And then
all 4 right there. That's all it took.
That's all it takes. Just kind of like tried to pick her nose and like.
Yep. Just casually flash the ring. Yeah.
Okay. Let's wrap things up, Zeke, by talking about the Minnesota Vikings. They made a trade. The trade deadline still like not till November, but like all of a sudden like 4 trades happened on Tuesday. It was like bang, 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 bang.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the Devontae Adams one being the biggest one for somebody in Aaron Rodgers who has no control over what the Jets are doing. But
never.
Another one of his buddies is in the building and was there like that. But that's beside the point. Jets are done. Cam Akers is back. Speaking of reunions, I just got the notification. I was like, what year is it? Did I like go in a time loop? Am I back to 2023? The Vikings traded for Cam Akers from the Rams a year ago, got him for a couple games, showed a little promise, tore his Achilles. And because apparently that was a thing Vikings players loved doing last year, was popping their Achilles, and signed a deal with the Houston Texans. Came into town when the Vikings played him. No Joe Mixon. It was all on Akers, and the Vikings handled the Texans in that game. But it says to me a couple things, Zeke. One, Aaron Jones is not super healthy. He missed practice again yesterday. Not a great chance he plays against the Lions. And by the way, this is the knock on Aaron Jones. Is why he's not in Green Bay. He does not play a full season. And that's not always a knock for running backs. But yeah, he missed a large chunk of last season. And I'm okay with even though this is a big game on Sunday, I'm okay with letting Jones miss a game here and there throughout the regular season, because when he was healthy last year in those final like 6 games for the Packers, they were just a completely different team. So he is important. He is important to what they want to do. But behind him is Ty Chandler. And behind Ty Chandler is some dude named Myles Gaskin. So
Dolphins legend Myles Gaskin.
Dolphins legend from 2019, Myles Gaskin.
Oh no.
So Cam Akers was much needed. The second thing is what it tells me is that they don't trust Ty Chandler. And as we saw in the game on last Sunday when they played in London against New York, he fumbled. He did not have his best game. But on top of that, when he struggles in the run game, it's one thing. But it's also the fact that he is not a great pass blocker, and Kevin O'Connell does not trust him in the pass blocking game. And with the Vikings, and they run a Sean McVay offense, they want to pass the ball. If you want to be a running back, not only do you need to run, you need to be able to know how to pass block. It's why I think before the Cam Akers trade, their running back depth chart probably goes Aaron Jones, CJ Ham, Ty Chandler, Myles Gaskin. They're giving CJ Ham carries at the goal line because they trust him to get the job done more than the other running backs, and I don't blame them. And CJ Ham also knows how to pass block as a running back. And if you're an offense that wants to pass 50 times a game, like the Vikings want to do sometimes, you're gonna need your running back to be able to hang in there and take one. And he just wasn't able to do that, or they don't trust him quite in those situations yet. And they felt the need to go get Akers. That being said, Kevin O'Connell has talked very highly of Cam Akers a lot. There were quotes last year, people were digging up of him, because obviously they worked together in LA with the Rams and won a Super Bowl together. He had a lot of great things to say about him a year ago. And when they played the Texans, he had a lot of good things to say about him as an opponent. It makes a lot of sense that Kevin O'Connell's like, there's a way we can get him back. And I'm surprised the Texans traded him because Joe Mixon has not been 100% healthy this season. And I have no idea who's behind him on the depth chart there for Houston.
Yeah, as a Joe Mixon fantasy owner, it bodes well for me that they were willing to trade Cam Akers. Yeah, because Damian Pierce is the backup, and he's been banged up too, which is why Cam Akers got the start against the Vikings with Houston a couple weeks ago, and
I
just
picked up Cam Akers, by the way, because he got hurt for that Vikings. Mixon did, so I was like, I just
Mhm.
need a running back. I know Akers will get touches. Now he's on the Vikings. This is very good for me.
exactly, yeah, as a Cam Akers guy, yeah, exactly, and going back to last year, I mean, Cam Akers had a terrible end to his time with the LA Rams, which is why he was made available to the Vikings. Like you mentioned, a Sean McVay guy. Well, so was KOC. They run a very similar offense, and for Akers to be able to basically be gone for 5 games from the Vikings and jump right back into this offense, he knows the playbook. He knows KOC. KOC knows him, so he can potentially jump right in and play Sunday without really missing a beat. And he kind of had a small career resurgence with the Vikings last year before he tore that Achilles. He had some big plays for the Vikings, and then went to Houston, third on the depth chart because they also signed Joe Mixon. Mixon gets hurt, Pierce gets hurt, had another semi-career revival. Everyone's talking Cam Akers again, starting running back for the Houston Texans, and was good enough to potentially get him the starting job for the Vikings, or at least be number 2 on the depth chart instead of number 3 in Houston.
Yeah, it's going to be it's interesting, and I wonder if the fact that he knows the playbook was a big reason why they traded for him. Is like Aaron Jones might not be able to go Sunday. Today will be the big test. It's always Thursday. A lot of veterans miss practice on Wednesday. That's just kind of a thing. Even if they're banged up or not, they'll use that as they're like, nah, I'm gonna take today off. Like from being physically in practice, they're in meetings and they're doing all that stuff. But whatever. And then Thursday is always the okay. Well, if they missed Thursday and they missed both like full go, Wednesday and Thursday are like your full go practices. Fridays are your walkthroughs where you're just walking around in shorts and t-shirts. But if you're not there for those 2 first install practices, it really doesn't bode well for you. So today will be the big test for Aaron Jones. I think the fact that Akers knows the playbook is probably huge because you can just plug him right in. Like you talked about, Zeke, there is no like, okay, well now we got to give him a couple weeks. Like, no, we need help right now. We don't. And again, if that's the case, it really doesn't bode well for what the Vikings feel about Ty Chandler. Kevin O'Connell gave him some like, hey, we think he can be good. Ty Chandler, we just got to do this and this. He's got to get better here. That may be true, but you're 5-0 and you're playing a 4-1 Detroit team that just steamrolled Dallas. Like you don't have time. Like this is not the time for him to learn and develop. If you were 2-3, sure, throw him out there, let him learn. You're 5-0. You don't have that margin for error. You got to get him in there.
Especially this year, looking at the division standings, you're 5-0, but you're like 1 game out of last place in the division because you're 5-0 and everyone else is 5-1 or 4-2 or whatever. You know, Green Bay's in last place in the division. They're 4-2. You have the tiebreaker over Green Bay right now, but it's very close. I think the one thing I would do if you were the Vikings, I would have made this deal a week ago, just so you get Cam Akers in here a week early on the bye week. But maybe they had more faith that Aaron Jones would be ready for this Detroit matchup on Sunday. Wasn't able to go, and so Cam Akers comes in and he looks to at a spot to potentially start on Sunday. I'm also trying to find an update. TJ Hawkinson came off the IR or the pup list
to practice. Yeah. Last week or before in London. So he was practicing in London. People thought maybe the bye week. I think I've heard rumors that like on social media that like they're saying like, you know what, maybe let's not rush him back against the Lions because it's going to be a physical game. Maybe not the first time, maybe not the best situation for him. Plus
they'll blow out his knee again. Yeah.
Right. Plus it's going to be a short turnaround from this game to playing the Rams a week from today on Thursday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it sounds like the Vikings are going to not play him this Sunday, and they're going to wait till Thursday, or maybe even after that Thursday game because of the short week, and then have him be full go. Kevin O'Connell Vikings, the Mike Zimmer Vikings are like, get him out on the field. Get him out on the field. You know, like Zimmer did not have patience for injuries, whereas Kevin O'Connell's like the complete pendulum swing where Justin Jefferson missed like 3 more games probably than he probably could have came back a week or 2 earlier than he did, but the Vikings held him out of an abundance of caution. I kind of wonder if that's what they're doing here because it was late December when he tore his knee. So it's
the last game of the year. Yeah.
And it's still not even 10 months ago. So it's a long time. Yeah. I don't think he's going to practice yet. Dalton Reisner, I don't think has been designated to practice yet, which is not a great, or I think he just got designated to practice again. People think that means he's playing on Sunday. It does not mean
he's playing on Sunday.
He's not playing on Sunday. That just means he can practice again, full go.
Yeah, Nick Chubb was pulled off the pup list like 2 weeks ago, but he hasn't seen a game yet because Because knee injuries are huge, and you don't want to rush a guy back and have him tweak something and miss even more time. I do think Nick Chubb is scheduled to play this Sunday, which is amazing based on the injury that he had, where his leg is basically buckled backwards.
I think it might. Was that when he was in college?
He had the same thing happen in college too, so it wasn't his first rodeo with a knee injury like that.
I always just remember explaining to people when I was in high school, I was like, did you watch that Georgia game on Saturday? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, the running back's leg was in a C. Like, it was just like this.
Yeah.
All of his weight was about to fall on it. Like, you could see the picture. I remember screenshotting it just so I could show people to be like, look at this. This is awful.
Yeah. There's just,
and then he had that happened with Cleveland last year.
The first one I remember was Willis McGahee at Miami. It was the first bad knee injury that I saw, and I just can't.
Kevin Ware is a name that'll stick in my mind.
Oh, Louisville. I haven't thought about that in years. Thanks for that.
11 years ago, that dude's bone was that dude's bone was sticking out of his knee.
Or Paul George had another one.
Paul George's was really bad. That was in the USA Olympic. That was in
it was Olympics. Yeah, it wasn't even in the NBA. No thanks. No thanks.
Disgusting.
Let's talk about the Lynx again. That'd be more fun than talking about these knee injuries.
All right, Zeke.
Broken legs.
I got a question for you. This question has been posed, and I think it's a good one. Is this the biggest matchup ever between the Vikings and the Lions?
In recent memory, for sure. You'd maybe have to go back to the late 90s. I know there had to have been some big matchups, because I think 98, the Lions, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, who were in the NFC Central at the time, and maybe even the Packers. Did all four of those teams make the playoffs that year? Maybe there had to be a big matchup late this season, especially when you're facing Barry Sanders. But over the last 30 years, absolutely not. This is the marquee Vikings Lions matchup, because over the last 30 years, you figure Vikings Lions pick the Vikings every single time, because as bad as the Vikings have been at times, the Lions have been much, much worse. And that's not the case anymore. My big question is the pass rush, because Aiden Hutchinson, speaking of catastrophic leg injuries, is going to miss the rest of the season. And so what happens with the Detroit pass rush and this offensive line and putting pressure on Sam Darnold and making him throw earlier than he wants to? Because Sam Darnold last game against the Jets wasn't great.
Was not great.
He had a fantastic first 3-4 weeks, but look at the second half of the Green Bay game, not particularly great. Look at the Jets game overall, not particularly great. So I'm curious to see what Sam Darnold looks like on Sunday. Also, coming off the bye week, he had been banged up. He had to come out for some knee injuries. I think he bruised some ribs or something in the Jets game.
He definitely bruised a rib with that shot he took.
Yeah, didn't look like Sam Darnold, and so we'll see what a potentially fully healthy Sam Darnold can do against this Lions defense. I saw a stat where the team that plays the Lions the next week is their worst week of the season, just because it's so physical. And Detroit, they're out there to bite off your kneecaps. They're gonna bust you up, and so this is gonna be a very physical game. Thankfully, it's off the bye. I mean, the bye could have been next week. That'd have been even better to recover from this matchup. But yeah, you've got Detroit and the physicality there. Short week. Los Angeles on Thursday. And then we'll see how it goes from there. But this is a couple crucial games for the purple and gold.
Be real awkward when they show up to the Edward and Jones Dome,
Yeah. We're taking on the Battlehawks today. Vikings versus Battlehawks. Let's go.
Gear up, baby. They show up to wherever the heck the Blues play, and they're like, let's do this.
Scott Trade Center. Yeah, there you go. Vikings versus Blues. I would pay to watch that.
Let's see if Justin Jefferson can get a goalie goal.
He probably can. He can do everything.
He can do everything. And by the way,
everything.
Justin Jefferson, by the way, remember that Lions fan in the NFC Championship game, or maybe it was the divisional game, after the Lions beat the Rams in that first round, there was that fan had the sign that said kneecap checkmark with the Vikings logo because of Hawkinson.
That's right.
Kneecap because of the Rams, because Tyler Higbee's knee got hurt.
Yep.
And then they were like kneecap or like question mark or whatever. And there was like whatever. And Justin Jefferson, and because the NFL took a screenshot of that clip on the broadcast and was like, it was like they're on a mission or something like that. And Justin Jefferson's like, could you please delete that? Because they're referencing blowing out my teammate's knee.
Yeah. Uncool. Not cool.
Not cool, man. Not cool at all. And by the way, the Lions, there's not really a surefire way to stop Justin Jefferson. But the one way you can slow him down is kind of what the Jets did and what the Lions have tried to do against Jefferson in the past, which is literally hold him. Like, you're going to get, like, be super physical and dare the officials to call penalties.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Jets did. I mean, they got called for 1 billion penalties, but also Jefferson was, he's not in the clamps necessarily, but he was in the clamps.
Contained, yeah. He didn't put up the numbers, yeah.
Right. If he had penalty yardage, sure. But and that, I think Detroit's done that in the past. So we'll see if they do that again. They have that Terrion Arnold, that corner they drafted out of Alabama as their number one guy now. But the thing is that Lions defense does run through Aiden Hutchinson. He was the guy. The pass rush was the thing that got it going. Having an elite pass rusher off the edge. I mean, you see with teams like Pittsburgh, when TJ Watt's not on the field, they're a completely different defense. It's not that they don't have good defensive players on that side of the ball, but he's the, to use a very old phrase, he's the straw that stirs the drink on that one. He's the thing that gets it moving, and it'll be interesting to see. Now, granted, this is the first week after it. Dan Campbell, big rah-rah guy. Is he able to motivate his team to play past it and, kind of have everybody rally for Aiden that first week? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. A lot of stuff here.
I heard Dan Campbell's going to play defensive end on Sunday. Actually, he's going to come out of retirement, suit up, and take Aiden's spot in that lineup.
He's going to personally be biting kneecaps.
He's going to deliver on that promise.
He's going to promises made, promises kept. It is election season, all right. I think that does it, Zeke. Thanks for coming on the Sports Desk. Welcome back anytime. We're going to be very busy over the next couple weeks doing playoff games. So we'll be sure to have you on to talk about all that. All right.
Always available.
This has been the Morning Sports Desk for Thursday, the 17th of October.
The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.